And it's recording.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Montgomery County Utility District Number 6 meeting for the month of August 2022. This is our first meeting at which we are being recorded, so that I would like to do a little explanation of what's going on and who we are. My name is Bruce Cunningham. I'm president of MUD 6. To my right over here is Deborah Sargent, Vice President of the MUD 6. To my immediate right is Neil Gaynor, who is a Assistant Secretary Treasurer and also the trustee. Aaron Hofstetter to my left is the Secretary Treasurer. In addition to the MUD directors, and we're missing one, Ron Kutchke, who is off on vacation, we have the staff here. And next to Deborah is Mike Mooney, who is the Assistant General Manager sitting in for Jim Stinson. Next to him, the lovely Maureen Bourgeois, who is the Accounting Manager. Next to her, Jeannie Scott. And then on the left here, Brian Yates, who is the attorney. Adam Cohen, who is the representative from RJ Baird. And Chris Meeks from the San Jacinto River Authority. And then we have a couple of other people sitting in the back, mostly from the San Jacinto River Authority and one from the Howard Hughes Corporation. So with that, I would like to make one more comment. The MUDs had the opportunity to vote on whether these meetings were to be recorded. And the majority of people on our MUD did vote so. And I think it's because we all believe that transparency in public service is something that is absolutely necessary, so that you understand what we're doing and why we make the decisions we do. Sometimes we may not make the right ones, but at least you know here that we are making them honestly. And with that, I'd like to begin the meeting. Are there any comments from the public? Nope, being no comments from the public. Are there any comments from the directors? No comments from the directors. Mr. Mooney, any requests for adjustments or from relief for any?
Nothing for this month.
Nothing for this month. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Jeannie. Moving on to the consent agenda. And the consent agenda is those routine things that rather than sit and discuss here over again, we tend to approve unless a director finds something wrong with them. So that the first thing I'm going to do is ask if any directors have any comments or would like anything moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda.
I just have one comment.
Go ahead, Ben.
On the item 6 from June, receive the tax collectors. I would enter the word report after that.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it. Okay, any other comments? May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Then we have to have a second.
I guess we do have to have a second. Moving quickly here. Thank you, Aaron. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved unanimously. Moving on to the regular agenda. And review and discuss the draft fiscal year 22-23 operating budget and recommendations for the water rate structure. And this, by the way, will probably be the most important thing that we do on the agenda today. Staff has prepared a preliminary budget for us to look at, and we now make comments on it. And I will let anyone else. Deborah, any comments on it? Neil?
The two most impressive items are the purchase services and the change in sewer repair.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna have that discussion,
Yeah.
coming up, so.
Bruce did ask, I should have got one of these. Kind of the preliminary budget for the year one system rehab. Several manholes that were going to be replaced, several manholes that are going to be coated. I apologize that the maps are not really even legible. They're so small, but there is some following maps. These will be in a project set of plans at the city of Houston in hopes to get the project approved. There is a schedule at the very back. It kind of shows the tentative schedule, submit draft package, final bid package in November. Contractor award in December, hopefully notice to proceed first part of January. This is kind of the budget. The budget in your draft budget is listed as $919,000.
Right,
That also includes some of the design work that's going on now for the year two,
okay,
phase two or year two, research and design. This is just the construction budget. I wanted to show you just kind of where these items were. Some, again, I can email you these so you can see a bigger picture of it. So you can get a feel of where these are, but there are various locations of MUD 6. And I have similar drawings for all the MUDs that we'll be doing work on this set of plans, but this is specifically for MUD 6.
Mike, are these the result of the consultant study that was referred to in last month?
These are the result of the year one study that we did on the smoke testing and dive water flooding. If you remember, we did some smoke testing and flooding all throughout MUD 6, MUD 46, MUD 36. Some of the stuff that's going on now is televising. We've got some television camera views of different problems with the sanitary sewer system. That's part of this as well. Visual inspection of the manholes, and they're listed on the drawing, what it is, concrete, brick, whatever it is. Again, it is painfully small, and I apologize for that.
Now, are these expenses going to continue beyond next September?
There are some budget items proposed based on the design work that's going to be going on in this fiscal year, 2023, will be proposed to be repaired in 2024.
But, and the reason I'm asking is that we are running through our capital reserve. And if we run it down further, I just want to know, because we'll need to have that information when we discuss the tax rate. So how many months beyond September do you think they'll have?
George Newman, or two others.
Typically, how we do it is the first 3 quarters of the year are research and design. The fourth quarter, which extends into the next fiscal year, is construction. So for this upcoming year, we've got about $300-something thousand planned for research with the $600,000 construction project. That gives you the $919 that's in the budget. Then 2024, it will be whatever the $300,000 design budget finds. We'll prepare a construction budget based on those findings for 2024.
Okay, so we
I don't have a number
definitely.
just yet. So
Okay,
later on this year, later on this fiscal year.
okay.
so
There
what,
was an error, just while I'm thinking about it, on the second page of your budget memo, under SJRA bulk wholesale and MUD retail water and sewer sales, sewer rates. The last sentence, we are budgeting a residential sewer increase of $485, $853, that should be $553.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Adam is here again this year to talk about your proposed maintenance tax rate.
Let's finish this first if we,
Yeah.
Aaron, any questions on your part?
No.
Deborah, anything else?
Is there any particular order for this? I mean, or is this in a particular order or is just put together?
It's in a bid order. It's how it will be bid.
Okay.
That's how it'll be arranged on the bid.
Okay, thank you. Is there, are there soft copies of this so that we could get this electronically?
Yes, I can get you that electronically.
Thank you.
Post it to the Google Drive.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah,
Thank you.
please do that.
That way you can blow it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. That'd be
Where
great.
repairs
Thank you.
are In relation to your house.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I've got another question or two. So last year we budgeted a little over $500,000, but the spend is, at least the estimated projected actual spend is around about half of that.
Correct. Where we at? Yeah, correct.
Yeah, can we explore that a little bit? I'm just trying to figure out where,
Some of that was, we were budgeting to get some of this construction work done this year.
okay, so that
We did not,
we fell behind on
We fell
it.
behind.
Okay.
the contract wasn't even awarded till January. We got a late start.
Right, all right, fair enough. And then does the city of Houston have to do a sign off? I mean, I see their,
They do. Yeah, they do.
so that's,
In their ETJ, they want.
Sign it.
Sign it off. The review process.
okay.
It won't take us over, but they still get a chance to review it.
One more layer.
One more layer, yeah.
Okay. I had,
Again, the budget's just for review, not
Mhm.
for adoption.
yeah,
If you
yeah, yeah.
have questions, if you don't think of anything tonight,
Okay.
please email me or Maureen and we will get them answered
Okay.
for everybody.
I had one more question, and at the trustees meeting the other day, I brought it up about the money, the $500,000 being spent for herbicides and fertilizers and mowing the large ditches. And you gave a good answer, but at the going away party for Bob on Friday, he said, hey, I think there are ways in which this can be done. And he said, I would like maybe John Geiger to go ahead and look at some of this stuff.
I was hoping John would be here.
Well, John, are you here?
John,
Oh, here he is.
John is here.
He popped out of the bottle. John, we're just talking about the large ditch repair and maybe doing a study that would show how we could avoid spending the money on herbicides and pesticides and as much growing. Are you prepared to do something like that?
Compared to.
Yeah, I mean, if you got authorization. Well, what I would like to propose is that we allow John to do a study on these large ditches and see if we can cut that $500,000 back in some way, shape or form. I think, in this whole community, we have to start looking more at native grasses and things like that, rather than trying to keep our lawns perpetually green, which is getting very hard and very expensive to
Let me
do.
just elaborate a little bit. We follow the Harris County flood control
Yeah.
specifications and guidelines. The purpose of fertilizing is it's hard, it's really difficult to grow vegetation on a slope. There's no irrigation. You're relying on
Natural
and it's
rain.
Basically for erosion control. We don't want-
Oh, yeah, no.
So
But
there's kind of a fine line. You don't want it to grow up with trees and stuff because then you lose capacity of the ditch carrying stormwater capacity. So the grass of choice is Bermuda grass. It's very drought tolerant. It's nothing like your yard, your St. Augustine lawns. It has deep roots. It kind of does what we want it to do. It takes very little water, takes very little maintenance. It's just kind of the grass.
I still hesitate to spend $500,000 here.
Mowing is the biggest.
No, I realize that. Yeah. But can we authorize John to do a study, look at
Is
it?
there a cost associated with doing that study? I mean, I would like to have some discussion on what that would be, what that would involve.
Okay. John, do you have any idea on how much it would cost to do a study like this?
If we wanted to look at that, I think we would look at what's happening in other similar scenarios and just pull from that research. Those models that might be out there. So really just time.
Yeah, it might be something we can run by Donnie, our engineer, to see if he's got any other experience with other
Okay.
Maintenance methods.
I would just feel more comfortable if we did, and I'm getting very worried about the amount of water we have and the amount that we're putting in grass.
Issue that's also been raised by other muds, or is it just this mud?
No, we haven't had this discussion, as of yet.
Okay.
Again, we don't water the grass, so it's not.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about in general. Okay, moving on. Item 10, Adam, would you, which has received the financial advisor's recommendation concerning the district's proposed 2022 tax rate and determine the intended rate structure and authorize. Adam,
We have on page 14, a letter with Jan's signature, along with the table following. I'll just remind you, the tax rate setting process is a two-step process. So today, all you're authorizing is publication of that total tax rate. Next month, you'll have your public hearing, and then you'll adopt and levy your tax rate. So if you look on the first page, you can see with your certified, which is as of January 1 of 2022, just over $1 billion with 37.6 million still uncertified. So you're at about 1.13 billion. That's a 20.36% increase from last year's 939.5 million. If you flip to the second page or to the tables, in that top box, this is where we go into a little bit of detail on the M&O rate and how you can look at it. So last year, your 2021 M&O rate was 7.5 cents. It generated just under $700,000. This year, we're recommending keeping it at 7.5 cents. And you can see the increase from the value to 839.6 thousand. So you're getting closer to balancing your budget. The parity rate from last year, if you were to levy the same amount or collect the same amount of dollars from last year, you'd need about 6.23 cents. And then to balance your budget, you really need about 8.5 cents. So we're getting closer. We're not quite there yet. And the value of a penny is about $112,000 in your district. The middle portion of the boxes discusses the tax bill for your residents. You can see the average homestead last year was $358,134, which equated to a tax bill of $269. This year, that average homestead went up to $398,185. And so at a flat tax rate of 7.5 cents, that same resident would pay $299. So it would be an increase of $30. Another way to look at the value of a penny in your district is $40 per penny on your tax bill. And so bottom, and I'll talk about this really quickly with respect to a developed district, because you are developed, and Senate Bill 2, which was effective to 2019, stated that a typical developing district was subject to the traditional 8%, meaning your average tax bill, if it went over 8%, then the residents could petition for a rollback election, which would roll back your maintenance and operations rate to that 8%. Because you are a developed district, it went into a little more detail and said for a developed district, that percentage increase is 3.5%. And over 3.5% is a mandatory rollback election. Now, not to make things more confusing, but in this case, it's important. The rule allows you to utilize unused increment. So from the voter authorized rate from 2019, 2020, and 2021 versus what you levied, the difference between those is what you can accrue and carry from year to year. So you can use up to 3 years prior. The law went into effect in September of 19, so there is no unused increment for 2019. So you can utilize 20 and 21. And so in that bottom box, you can see we're showing a proposed rate of 7.5 cents. A parity rate, a total parity rate is about 6.75 cents. And then you can see total rate to avoid an election with the unused increment is about 7.7 cents. So I just explained that to you so that you know that even though you're showing an 11.18% increase in the tax bill you're really at 3.5% plus the unused increment for 2020 and 2021. So you would not be subject to a mandatory rollback election. But you'd be using the unused increment. And, you know, depending on what happens next year, we'll have to figure out where we stand next year. Because, I mean, I know the appraisal district, at least for Montgomery County, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of around 28-ish% for market value increase. So we will have another issue next year, but this at least allows us to continue to get closer to a balanced budget. And then next year, we'll have to figure out what the options would be.
So if we don't use that carryover this year, it would increase for next year, potentially?
You could use it next year.
You go back 3 years,
Okay.
starting with 2020. So
Right.
2019 was considered zero. So
Right.
this year we had 2020 and 2020.
So if we think that it's going to be more severe next year, then it would behoove us to think about not using that carryover till next year.
It really doesn't matter
Okay.
because it's the same amount either way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, with the increase in property values last year, any tax rate we're going to impose next year is probably going to require a rollback election, will it not?
No, not
Nope.
necessarily, because I think what you've got on your recommendation for today is a rate that is
7.5.
under the election requirement. So
Okay.
that it looks like it's higher, but the reason, as Adam said, is because you're pulling forward that increment from prior years. And that's what's keeping you from triggering an election,
Right.
even though it's over 3.5%.
Okay.
You're not going to be, based on the increment calculation calculated by your tax assessor collector, Jeannie, when you add those increments from 20 and 21 to your current rate plus 3.5%, you can levy this without.
I thought,
That is the max. You're
That's
using
the
up all your previous increments and you're going up to that.
Yeah,
limit
well,
without
we-
being kicked into an election.
we need to get as much as we can. I mean, I'd almost go for the 7.7.
Yeah, this-
Any reason not to go for the 7.7?
No, and if you've got any, if directors have any inclination that you might want to ultimately levy, because today, as Adam mentioned, you're not levying, you're just,
Talking about it.
well, right, and you're authorizing the publication of the notice. So that is what locks you in the notice, because if you say, okay, we're going to publish at 7.5, and then y'all come back and go, you know what, I've thought about this, and I think we really should go up to the limit. Well, you can't, based on that notice, you have to republish. Jeannie has to go through, pay the fee again, and then you'll have to hold another public hearing in October and then adopt. You basically have to reboot the whole process if you decide that you want to go over what you published.
But if we went under what we published, we're okay.
You're fine.
Okay.
Okay. Any discussion? Aaron,
No.
what would you think of a 7.7?
I would be comfortable with it.
Deborah?
I'm comfortable with it, knowing that we can go back down if we need to without any repercussions.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm with Deborah on that. I think that's a reasonable approach.
Okay.
Because that avoids this restart that you're describing. So,
Yep.
How much are we talking about, Jeannie, in terms of dollars? We're going from 7.5 to the exact rollback rate.
$38 per bill, 14.15%.
So wait, 38 is on here, we've got 40. All right.
So the difference between these two is 30 right now, the value.
That's $30 if we do 7.5, 11.18%. If you go up to 7.7, then it's $28, 14.5%.
So you're not, I mean, you're talking about $8 for a year is what you're talking about, the difference between the two, so.
yeah.
Okay,
Price of 2 cups of coffee these days.
if that with inflation,
A cup and a half.
depends on how much coffee you need to cup. All under the big one.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. May I have a motion to publish this, please?
motion to publish the rate at 7.7.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried unanimously.
Villager and Courier like we did last year.
Had this battle last year.
Yeah, it's,
Yes, yes.
what is the cost again?
Last year it was $850 out of one of these this year.
Okay.
Per head,
And we did both last year.
twice.
And the villager does not cover us legally, is that correct? Okay, I'd go for both.
Yep.
Go for both.
So tax bills.
Back down as long as the villagers are around.
Okay, so the motion from the board, y'all agree, is to publish and.
Yep, two papers, 7/7.
Do you need a formal motion to that effect?
Is everybody in agreement on that?
Oh, yep.
Yes,
So want a formal motion?
Everybody's in agreement.
Yeah, yeah.
No objections?
that was part B, the means of providing, that's what you're referring. to.
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay, yes.
So we are specifying, I believe, two public newspapers. So do we need to modify the motion?
Let's go ahead.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's a great
um,
idea.
I'll move that we modify the previous motion to include specificity to the publication in the Courier and the Villager.
I'll second that motion.
All right.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on, item 11, received the San Jacinto River Authority Woodlands Division Report, including an updates on the wastewater strategic plan and on infrastructure funding. Chris, you going to do it or are you going to let Summer do it today?
Be damned today.
It'll be Dan today. Oh.
And you don't
I-
have anything I have nothing on the infrastructure fund. There's no update.
No update, okay.
So in terms of wastewater strategic plan, just a quick update on that. And a couple items in your packet, page 36, I believe, is the meeting summary from our progress meeting. Internal estuary consultant took place on July 27th. The major piece of this meeting and discussion was around analysis, path forward for how do we lay that out to have the ability to compare and contrast and evaluate the shortlisted alternatives that have been developed and coordinated with the stakeholder group. So that's going into, all right, well, what cost assumptions do we need in terms of, well, what do we assume for inflation? Looking at life cycle costs, which is capital costs, O&M costs. Then trying to bring in what metrics do we present those costs in, whether it's, all right, it's total for a 50-year planning horizon is X. Or is it, bringing in bond financing concepts and debt service to try to present that in a way over a period of time for the various alternatives? Or is it bringing down to a level of a % increase on the rates over a period of time? So we want to bring those different metrics to the group and figure out the best way to present those to the stakeholders and ultimately the funds. So that's what we're working on. Two additional items. One is the next stakeholder meeting is currently scheduled for November 8th. It's been pointed out to us that is election day. So we are moving that meeting. I think it's going to go up to the week prior. So Bruce, keep an eye out for
November 1st.
correspondence from Bryce Summer. That will be coming in. We've also gotten a request from stakeholders to have like an interim stakeholder meeting because the last one was in July and then we don't have one till early November, and that some people's opinion was a very long stretch of not hearing anything about the project. So we are looking to get any feedback from the stakeholders on what they would want to see for agenda topics at an interim meeting, possibly like end of September. We need to work on when that would be. Something else you'll hear correspondence on. We've heard ideas on, well, can you we may not have all the numbers and cost analysis pulled together, but can you present to us kind of your assumptions or approach at what you plan to show us in the November meeting? Get some initial feedback to hopefully kind of streamline that analysis
once November comes. We've gotten feedback on doing a deeper dive into the membrane, bioreactor technology. And how that compares to, the conventional process, and where is the potential for additional value, pros and cons of doing something like that. So those are just some examples. So, we would be open to any suggestions or agenda items for interim stakeholder.
What size facility are you looking at now?
So
How many
right-
gallons a day?
So right now, if we were to rebuild plant one with a new plant adjacent to it, we're looking at 10.2
Okay.
million gallons of plant. And that is based off of what we know today with the 6 and final accounting numbers through 2027.
Okay. Because at one point, as much as 15 had been discussed, and that,
Correct. So that is something that's been discussed on where there might be a need for additional capacity beyond that 2027 date. What exact amount that may be, it could be 12, could be 15, whatever that is. To where that is definitely going to be something we're going to look in a whole lot more detail if we go into a phase 2 analysis of the site.
okay. And really, the only way you're going to find out what the additional capacity for inhabitations in the Woodlands, then have you talked to Mr. Colkhorst of the development company to find out if they've got plans beyond this date yet? Even rough ideas for you. I know we've got nothing. I've talked to them, and they've got nothing in MUD 6 planned at this point, at least now.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a discussion that would need to be had.
Okay. I had one other question. On page 38, you discuss risk. Hang on, I got to put my glasses on. Risk register and action items. And see slides 46 to 52. And the slides are not included in here, and I was wondering if we can have those made available to us.
So the slides should be up on the Google Drive.
Okay.
So they should be available to you,
Out in the Google.
but we didn't want to have 50 pages.
Okay, no, okay. No.
So, but they should be available. But really what that risk registry is just kind of a spreadsheet tracking long-term risks that may come up on this project, how we would go about mitigating them and such. So, yeah, if you can't find it, let me know.
Okay,
And
and I have one other question. Site 11, as it was called, which was the one on the corner of Sawdust Road, has that been eliminated?
Yes, and it's.
Because I believe
Under
that, they're developing it, yeah,
Yes.
that's what I was
So we did eliminate that one. And it
Okay.
was not part of the listed.
So it's basically down to wastewater treatment plant 1 at this point.
For consolidation option, yes, and then we obviously have the renewal and replacement.
Okay, thank you.
So then that's going to require re-permitting, am I correct? To go to the 10.2 from the current 10.8?
We were to rebuild a new plant, then yeah, there would be permitting. But
What would it be?
How challenging is that? How challenging would that be with PCQ?
We would actually go for a permit amendment by maintaining the same outfall. So
Okay,
it's
okay.
not as labor intensive as the brand new thing.
Right.
So.
Okay. Any other questions?
I had a question on page 27. And the operating revenues for the GRP actual were $9 million versus a budget of $5.6 million. Is this just because of increased demand from places in the Woodlands, or is it all over?
That is increased demand across all of the 149 water systems, 80 participants. So it's everybody in the GRP.
So you're getting a lot more demand for.
We are across the board. Now, keep in mind, when you see this actual, that's actual invoice. That's not actual cash in the bank that came through.
Okay.
So
Conroe, how much did Conroe get?
that's a good number. You know what's?
No, that's,
Okay.
that was a fluff question.
Generally $1 million, $1.5 million or so local.
Is there a limit on how much they can request before there's another step?
There is, it's based on the budget, it's their allocation. So at the beginning of each year, we send each of the participants that receive surface water, here's your allocation for the year, right? And so we've done a min and a max this year, as well as a total year usage. I want to say theirs is like 1.5 billion gallons or so. And so it's what we talked about with the review committee last month. The surface water plant itself produced last year, or this, get my years mixed up. Up until July 31st, it produced 4.4 billion gallons, which was the budget. So in August, we actually went to the review committee and said, we've already spent everything in the budget. Do you want us to basically shut down the plant for the month of August? Run it like it is, reduce the capacity to 9 MGD, 12 MGD. So they chose 12 MGD. So we took the 12 MGD and we broke it up by each of those 7 participants. I think Woodlands is getting about 6 million gallons a day of surface water. Conroe is getting 3, little under 3. So they can't get any more than that. That's all they're getting each day for the month of August. More demand of it.
And a lot of action going on in the city of Conroe.
Just a little.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Chris and company? Let's move to item 12, receive the attorney's report.
I have a lot of legal matters to discuss with y'all today.
No, thank you. Item 13, the general manager's report. Michael?
I wanted to introduce John Geiger. John, you guys may know him. He's been around a while, we got him from the township. He was the environmental services manager. He's replacing the vacancy left when Bob Daly retired last week. So he is our new environmental education and outreach coordinator. We're happy to have him. He's going to be a good addition to the staff, and sounds like you got a project right off the bat. So in the packet, there's a couple of complimentary letters for Margot and our customer accounts department. We're happy to get those and share those with you. The other thing I've been doing is updating everybody on Jim. Jim is in rehab. He's at home. He had L1 through L5 vertebrae fused, and he's doing physical therapy, but he'll come in once or twice a week for an hour or so just to see what's going on. But he's not released to drive yet, so he's still at home. But he's doing well.
Glad to hear it.
Answer any questions on the report if you
Any questions for Michael? No, okay. Getting off easy today. Received the Woodlands Water Trustee Report. Now, the trustee report is on pages 45 to 47. I attended the trustees meeting for Neil, who was out of COVID. Are there any questions that anybody has on the trustees report?
Just so you know, the reason I'm wearing a mask, Whiting's had a little bit of a rebound, so just want to be sure.
Sure.
I'm negative, just so you know.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, just in case.
What, no questions? No, this is gonna be quickly.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I just wanted to thank the board, the trustees for voting for a new home for me, the Woodlands Water Agency, in my role on the San Jacinto Regional Flood Planning Group. As you're probably aware, the previous group that I was affiliated with was the One Water Task Force, and that was not reauthorized by the Woodlands Township Board. And so I need to find a new home, and I found it. So I thank the trustees for that.
Okay. If nothing else, we'll move on to item 15. Do we need to go into executive session? Not today. Okay. We have reconvened an open session. Moving to item 17. Any matters for placement on future agendas?
budget.
Tax rate, that's going to be there anyway. I'm
Yeah.
sure you guys got that covered.
So that's the tax hearing and the adoption.
Yeah, it's the formal part. And we get closer to the budget. Okay. If nothing else, then I would like to declare the meeting adjourned at 2:11. And I thank you all for coming and have a pleasant day.
Thank you.